Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's session for the SHICAA Annual Stocktaking meeting on online safety and well-being of children and young people. Yesterday, we had a fantastic discussion around issues of technologies which Tushar was presenting. Then we had issues around cyber psychology, which Anika was presenting. We had presentation from Dr. Dhaval Gupta from the Ministry of Electronics and Shireen from Facebook. Today, it will be mainly around the research that has been done on the issue of online safety and well-being, especially during the COVID times. I will be presenting first, and then Sonali will be presenting on the parental perspectives. She will be presenting on her research data from Maharashtra and Goa. Sonali is founder of Responsible Netism. They are doing fantastic work in Maharashtra and Goa, and very happy that she is connected now on this alliance. And then Prerna will be presenting on the book that we have made for teachers, mainly on understanding and identifying and reporting processes around online safety for children. It is a guidebook for teachers. Then we will have Tejvinder Anand from Population Foundation of India. He will be presenting on Snehai. Snehai is actually their application, artificial intelligence application, which is mainly used for reporting of online child sexual exploitation and abuse. And we will have Ms. Amita Puri. She will be presenting on data protection and what the companies need to do and how it is to be facilitated, meaning what has to be in the policy, corporate policy of the companies so far as data protection and data privacy is concerned. And in the end, to sum it up all and for laying the way forward, we will have Dr. Yatan Balhara from All India Institute of Medical Sciences. So he is an expert on behavioral issues, and especially when there are behavioral issues and behavioral disorders connected to internet. So he will be presenting, and then we will have open discussions. So I'll start now. So I'll share my screen. It is a longest presentation because this is from data from mainly from 2 districts of Jharkhand. So we had data from other districts from Uttar Pradesh also, which was for young people. This is mainly for children and adolescents in the age group of 13 to 18. There are 2 more data sets which will be coming up as analysis in the book that we will have. These are from college and university students. I will not be presenting them today because it will go too long. When we launch the book sometime in April, then we will have a discussion. And now I'll be mainly presenting from data coming from Jharkhand. The data was collected in November 2021. So it had questions asked from children in the age group of 13 to 18. And these are from 2 districts of Jharkhand, mainly from Bokaro and Dhanbad districts, where we have some work going on, project with the government and the district administration, including the police and the whole child protection mechanism there. So I'll be presenting from there. Let me share my screen. This is visible to everybody. Can somebody tell me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is mainly usage pattern of internet among children before and during COVID, meaning there were questions when we had asked before what was the situation before March 22, March 2020. March 2020, and after and during March 2020. So the questionnaire was administered mainly in October, November 2021. So I'll present. This is how the sample distribution looks like. There were total respondents of 896. Then boys and girls were in equal number in that sample. So income wise also, I'm just presenting what was the income within that 896, just to tell you when the results I'll be presenting, you should know what is the context of the result. So less than 6,000 per month per family was out of those 896, 898, then 6 to 12 was 350, maximum was in this. So 12 to 18 was 168, 18 to 24 was 126. 24 to 30 was 112, and more than 30,000 income was. So this is what then we also asked the family size. So I'm just presenting, we asked family size of all. So 3, 4, 5, 6, more than 6. So, but I am mainly presenting families cutoff is 4. So family size less than till 4 or less than 4 was 336, and family size more than 4 was 560 out of that 896. Income less than, so 18, if we make comparison of income less than 18,000 and more than 18,000 was 616 and 280. And this is the age, how it fell. So it was, since it was a random sample, so we do not have equal number of children in each age group. It was drawn as a random sample. We tried to do, but we could only manage equal number of boys and girls. According to age, we didn't get. So we had lesser number of 13 and 14-year-olds. This is. If you look at the own internet-enabled device. So on internet-enabled device, March 2020, before March 2020 was 50%, which was surprising. That even before March 2020, 50% of our respondent children had their own internet-enabled device, which increased to about 80% during the COVID, meaning after March 2020. Within boys, if you look at lesser number of boys than girls had their own internet-enabled device before March 2020. But after March 2020, this was actually higher, 81.25. So if you compare this, 50% overall, but boys had lesser, girls had more of their own internet-enabled device before. Girls, the increase is lesser, but before March 2020, they had more number of devices of their own. Then we asked her, how many of you had account on any social media? So overall, before March 2020, 35.9 for around 36%. And then it increased to, after that, during the COVID times, after March 2020, it increased to around 69% had their own social media account. Male and female is like this. If you look at 35.94 overall, but boys had in percentage share of boys, within boys, 43% or 44% had their own social media account before March 2020. And after March 2020, meaning this is, can somebody in my team keep admitting people? Prerna, if you can do, or anybody else can keep admitting people. Thank you so much. then social media account now. So meaning when the question was asked, that is in October, November, 87, around 88% of boys. If you look at overall, it is only 69. Boys, it came to 88. So boys had, and if you look at girls, then they had very few had social media accounts of their own, around only 28% and increased to 50%, even though higher number of girls reported to have their own internet enabled device. But when it comes to account on social media, girls are much less. Then we also asked how many of you have any profile on any internet gaming platform, any. So before March 2020, 31% had. And when the question was asked, it increased to 50%. Within boys, it was 43 point, it was higher, 43.75, around 44%, and it increased to 72%. It is quite a substantial increase of around 30% between before March 2020 to October, November 2021. Girls, they had very less of them had any internet gaming profile, and it increased only to by 10% within when we asked this question to only 28%. So very less number of girls had before March 2020, and even when the question was asked, they had very less number of them had internet gaming profile. Then we asked on how much time did you spend before March 2020 and after March 2020, continuing from that time to October, November 2021. So we then asked how much time, 0 hour, 1 hour, 2 hour, up till 8 hours and more. And then we asked for after March 2020, how much time did you spend on internet, all purposes. So we have asked for all purposes, then study, then gaming, then social media, then entertainment, all categories separately. So I will be presenting one by one. So for all purposes, before and after COVID, time on internet, 71% or 72% of our sample reported that their time increased. And amongst the boys, amongst 448, that is the boys, 82%, around 82%, 81.5% reported that their time increased on the internet. And only 62.5% of girls reported that their time increased on the internet. Now let us see for social media. Social media, if you look at this, overall, for all purposes, 72%. But if we ask for social media, only 62.5% times and may of their increased from before to after. For male, it was, for boys, it was around 72%. And for girls, it was 53%. 53%, if you look at this. It's also mainly because even before March 2020, so we are asking about increase before and after. So it is reported lesser here because even before, I'm not presenting it because we do not have that time, but I'm just telling you that even before March 2020, time on internet for social media was quite high. So that increase is lesser. So if it is already around 3 hours, so there is a lesser chance of it to increase from 3 to 4. But if it is for studies, there is maximum number of, because it was around 0, 1, something like that, maximum 2 hours for studies. So it increased. If you will find that for studies, time on internet increased maximum. For gaming, if you look at, there was a huge increase for boys. For girls, only around half of them reported, 60% reported an increase for gaming. For entertainment, 56% of overall they reported increase. Let us look for studies. For studies, overall sample 74, around 73.44% of the whole sample reported an increase in time on internet. Boys, it was around 85%. Girls, it was very less. So it is also to say that the girls, even after and during the COVID times and after March 2020, there was very less number of girls who had increased their time for studies on the internet. So they were lagging behind in terms of online education that they were getting. If you look at this, you will get that for all purposes, it is around 72%. For social media, 62%. For internet gaming, 65%. For entertainment, there was very less increase. For maximum increase was in the case of studies. Entertainment also increase is less because it was already on the higher side even before March 2020. Entertainment is mainly Hotstar or YouTube or listening to songs, these kind of activities we have listed, or watching movies, short videos, reels. So these are not social media or gaming. These are separate. So we have asked for these. Now, this is the same. Now let us come to the main harm part, what harm was caused to them. So we have asked about account hacking, and we have asked about morphing, we have asked about cyberbullying, cyberstalking, online child sexual exploitation and abuse. So I'll be presenting that. Any account hacking that had happened in the sample before March 2020, 14% of them had reported. So this let us not read it in that manner that it increased from 14 to 15. Actually, 15% is quite high here because only during those 18 months, 15.63% of the overall sample reported as any sort of hacking of their account. Whereas before March 2020, all meaning whether it is March 2020 or 19 or 18 or 17 or 16, during all those times only for all the whole period before March 2020, it was only 14% of our 896 sample. They had any sort of incidence of hacking of their account. But only during those 18 months, 15.63%. Amongst female, it was 9.38% before, and it was same during the 18 months of it. Boys, it was quite high. Even before their account hacking incidences were 18.75%, and only during these 18 months, around 21.86% of them reported to have any of their accounts hacked. Cyberbullying, before March 2020, it was 7.81%, and during these 18 months, 9.38%. So this is quite high. Actually, our earlier studies didn't point to this much incidence of bullying. So around 10% is around 1 in 10 person or 10 child in 13 to 18 has been bullied online, has faced cyberbullying. Male, it was sick, it rose from, it was before that. If you look at this, overall it's 7.81. Boys, before March 2020, it was only 6.25. And during these 18 months, 9.38% of them reported to cyberbullying. Girls, it is the same. It remained the same. It was higher on the higher side even before March 2020. Let us look at cyber stalking. Cyber stalking incidents was 12.5% of the sample had faced cyber stalking before March, and during those 18 months, meaning March 2022, when we asked, 6.25 of them. Boys, they had less, but cyber stalking, which mainly girls face more. Boys face very less, which is how we had understood before this research also. It remained the same. But one thing is that girls during these 18 months, they reported only 9.38% of them stalk, whereas 18.75 had reported any form of cyber stalking before March 2020. So we are trying to find out what were the circumstances and what happened, how it was facilitated. We still don't know what are the reasons behind this phenomenon. We are working on it, but this won't be part of the research because we have a program now, and then when we talk to these but this is something which it will take time for us to know the details, because these are random samples and we do not identify who reported what. So it will be it will take a little time to understand this phenomenon for us. Online child sexual exploitation and abuse. Before March 2020, 7.81% had reported. During 18 months, it was less. Boys, it remained the same. And even for girls, during 18 months, 6.25. Actually, I think this is something which does not kind of increase exponentially, or it has its own pace. So, and this pace didn't report increase, meaning there was no such report in this sample of much increase. This when we saw our sample from the college students, there was a higher increase. But when we see this from our sample from the 13 to 18 age group, there is not that kind of an increase. Morphing was something which was amongst all the cyber crimes. Morphing, meaning morphing and editing of images and videos. This was something which was the highest. It was earlier 9.38 before March 2020, and during these 18 months, it was 14.06%. And for girls, it was high even before 12.5, and during 18 months, 15.63% of them faced incidents of morphing. Let us now see it age-wise and income category-wise and time spent on internet. So there is no pattern. If you look at this data, there is no pattern as such according to age. 13, 14, 0% for hacking, then 15, 25, sorry. 12, 25. There is, we are not able to find any pattern of increase, decrease. So it's all not very much dependent on we could not find any sort of association or relation between age and facing of this incidence. But there is definitely one association with income of the family. The higher income category, children coming from higher income families, they had higher incidence of facing these cyber crimes. So we still need to find out, get into our data more to find out what were the reasons behind it, because one is that they would be spending more time on internet because they would be having more of their own devices or their own private rooms or private space, and less monitoring from the parents, and not parents mainly, but also from relatives and those kind of phenomena. So we need to find out more on this. If you look at what is the difference between those who spend less than 5 hours on internet daily and those who spend more than 5 hours on internet. So there is a marked difference. For account hacking, it is 14%, and then for all those who spend less than 5 hours, and 17%. So it is like 7 and 13, 8. So it is around. But if you look at online child sexual exploitation and abuse, this difference is huge. It increases from 2.44% to 13.04%, depending on who is spending how much time on internet. If it is less than 5 hours, in that sample, only 2.44% of them reported facing any online child sexual exploitation and abuse incidents, whereas 13.04% of them reported to have faced amongst those who spend more than 5 hours daily on internet. Now coming to we use two scale. We have administered two scales also, which are mainly on the social media disorder scale and internet gaming disorder scale, which are on the behavioral disorders. So I think Dr. Balhara will take the nuanced part of it when he presents. I'm presenting the only the findings here. Social media disorder scale, it is like this. We ask the question, please answer the question by thinking of your experience with using social media, example, WhatsApp, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Google+, Pinterest, forums, weblogs in the past 1 year. This is how it is. I'll show you. These are the questions. During the past year, have you regularly found that you can't think of anything else but the moment you will be able to use social media again? Yes, no. This talks about preoccupation. Regularly felt dissatisfied because you want to spend more time on social media. This mainly talks about tolerance. Then the question on often felt bad when you could not use social media. This talks about withdrawal. Tried to spend less time on social media but failed. This talks about persistence. Regularly neglected other activities, that is hobbies, sports, homework, because you wanted to use social media. This talks about displacement. Regularly had arguments with others because of your social media use. This talks about problems. 7th question is regularly led to your parents or friends about the amount. Regularly, it is not led, it is lied. Told a lie. There is a typo here. Regularly lied to your parents or friends about the amount of time you spend on social media. Yes, no, it is about deception. Often use social media to escape from negative feeling. This is about escape. Had serious conflicts with parents, brother, sister, friends, relation because of your social media. This is about conflict. So let us find the result. Then the overall, this score, minimum score can be 0, maximum can be 9. So we found social media score greater than or equal to 5. So this is quite high, 20.31% in the overall sample. They reported as social media score greater than or equal to 5. Amongst male, it was lesser. Amongst female, it was higher. Even when you see the social media use amongst female is less. This is the same sample. But even then, they reported, a higher percentage of them reported as. So we have not found amongst those who use more. This is in the sample of overall male and overall. So amongst 448 male and 448 female. So this is then becomes quite high. 25% of the girls reported as social media disorder score greater than or equal to 5. Now I'll come about the overall for all the different ones: preoccupation disorder, tolerance disorder, withdrawal disorder, persistent disorder. So even this overall, it is 30% around, hovers around 30%. Escape is very high, around more than half of them reported. They said yes, more than around 53%. And amongst boys and girls, it remained the same. Otherwise, it hovers around somewhere around 30%. Now let us find out is there some sort of association with age? No. Meaning 13-year-olds, they had 0% amongst that sample, amongst, then it is around 7, and as it increases, so it is around 28, 33, 33, but 17 and 18 years in that sample, that disorder is very less. So maybe they, by that time, they are able to understand how to use it responsibly, social media, and it has a lesser impact on their brain. But yes, 13-year-old especially 0% also, because they are, when they are 13, they are just about the legal age to use social media. So I think it is a reason that only 0% of that sample reported. And the meaning the elder children, they had lesser social media disorder. Income wise, in the higher income families, there is higher incidence of social media disorder, score of greater than or equal to 5. Now let us find out, there are two things. This is something which is very, very interesting. One, when we saw in the overall time spent on internet, so there was no association between, in fact, those who spent more than 5 hours daily on the internet, in that sample, they reported lesser proportion of them having a score, SMD score, social media score higher than 5. But when we saw specifically on percentage amongst those who spent up to 3 hours on social media, so this is what we can say very clearly, that if it is social media disorder, then this time spent on social media only matters, meaning time spent on studies online or time spent on other purposes will not affect the social media disorder, meaning it will not have that much impact, or in fact no impact on social media disorder. Only the social media use will have that impact. So if we are saying the child is studying online, then it will have some impact. No, if that time is spent on studies or other purposes, it is not affecting the social media disorder score. Now let us see the other scale that we use, internet gaming disorder scale, short form 9-question scale. So these are the questions, and these are asked on 1 to 3, 4, 5. We score 1 for never, then 2 for rarely, 3 for sometimes, 4 for often, and 5 for very often. These are the questions. So I'm just presenting the results. And the cutoff is 32, more greater than or equal to 32 out of 45. The lowest score can be 0, highest score can be 45. So if the score is greater than 32, then, so if you look at around 16%, so this is also quite high. 16% of the sample overall, they reported internet gaming disorder score of, amongst male it was less, amongst female it was higher. Amongst female it was around say 19%, 16% overall. For boys it was around 13%, less than 13%. Is there any relationship with age or association with age? No. It becomes highest, meaning it has an inverse relationship with age, except between 13 and 14 it goes high, and then as it goes for higher the age, amongst 18-year-olds, it only 0% of that reported any score of more than. So it is also to be understood that the younger children are more at risk and higher propensity or susceptibility to have internet gaming disorder. Now, income wise, less income families had lesser, higher income families had higher. Now again, if you look at the same thing which we had in overall, time spent on internet has got no association with internet gaming disorder. In fact, those who spent more than 5 hours on internet, In that sample, only 0% of them reported internet gaming. But if you look at only how much time they spent on internet gaming, so if it is less than 3 hours, it is 13.33%, and if it is higher than 3 hours, it becomes 21.88%. These are the results. Thank you so much. I think I already. Thank you so much. And I think it's already time. Whoever has questions, please write in the chat box or keep it right in your notebook, and we will take it later. Jointly, we will take it up and towards the end. So if you have questions, please write in your notebook or write in the chat. You can ask, or it's better if you write on chat, because then Prerna can note it down and then introduce it to all the speakers, and then we can have a discussion.